Now I gotta ride or die.
So guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have the keys to this. Behind me is a 2017 140i. Now the interesting thing that I'm going to start with a walk around like we used to on this channel. We're trying to go back to our roots with car reviews and do a sort of walk around prior to us actually going out and enjoying this thing. But the first thing that I want to point out is, although I'm an 8P RS3 owner, or at least an ex-8P RS3 owner, the 135 that was before this was relatively pitched against the 8P RS3 when they came out, because you know in 2011 2012 when this and the 8P, well this 135 version of this 140 came out, they're actually pitched together. So it's really interesting for me to jump out of my RS3 that I did a few days ago and actually jump in what is in theory the newer age version of the car that used to be pitched against my car, if that makes any sense. So I've seen the rivals, I've owned the rivals to this car, because I think that's the first thing I need to point out, is that everything that I'm feeling today, I have driven and owned its rival. Chris Harris, back in the day when the 135 and the 8P RS3 came out, he actually pitched them together and preferred the 135i. So let's jump into this 140, which in theory is the newer version of the 135i. This shares a lot of the characteristics of the 135i. It being an M car, but not an M car. It's an M badged car, but not an official M power car, means that it's in a funny sort of league of its own. This is the 1 Series, which is in theory the entry level of the performance side of BMW. We'll start with looks, because I think looks will sell a car to anybody. I think that this looks really, really good. It hasn't got huge bulged arches and anything like that that you get on the typical M cars, you know, the M4s and the M3. So there is a big difference there between that sort of car and this one. The less bulged arches are very apparent when you're actually with this car. The other thing to point out is that I love the front of these newer generation 1 Series with this sort of gill bit down here with the more aggressive front and the kidney grills. It looks really, really cool. Now I believe that these to be one of the best value for money newer age hot hatches that you can buy. This one, you know, they come out of the factory with around 335 brake horsepower from that 3-litre turbocharged engine up front, which we're going to go and enjoy in a minute. But this one being a 4-door variant means that it is incredibly practical, very spacious. You come around the back, we've got the twin X exhaust system just down here, wearing the 140 badging just there. Considering the price point of these, you're looking at about, I'd say 17, 18, 19 grand for the car that I'm driving today. We're around 50,000 miles on it. We'll open the door to show you guys the interior. Now I previously have owned BMWs, not of this generation, but with this sort of cockpit style. I believe my X6 was the same sort of generation as this, but this is of course the newer updated version of that sort of interior. I really like the steering wheels in the newer BMWs. This slight M badging just up there. Just jump in to show you guys. You've got the dials down there, 140 badging there. It is a really nice clean interior in here. Same sort of generation styling and all that sort of goodness as previous BMWs that I've been in very recently. This has the Harman Kardon sound system as well, which if it was me, I would try and get it. Sounds fantastic. But we'll talk more about the driving experience and how it feels to drive in a minute when we take this thing out. Now, of course, this would be the reason why you would buy this car, the M Performance. Look at that on the actual engine, the 3-litre turbocharged engine that reacts so well to performance. This is the big selling point for me though. The fact that you can get a lot of power out of these cars. They're around 335 brake horsepower from the factory. The one I have today is a stage 1 mapped version, and it is running around 400, 410 with the current setup that's on this car. That's it though. There is no more breather mods, there's no exhaust system, no nothing. So you could very, very easily achieve this car and its performance stats with a simple remat. We're talking around 600 Newton meters of torque today from this. These haven't got an LSD though, that's the big thing. So when we go for a drive, it's slightly greasy, it's a little bit, I'm not going to say it's damp, but it is cold today. We'll see how that fares, because of course this isn't a pitch against the RS3, but the RS3 would obviously put its power down, four-wheel drive, quattro and all that good stuff. This though, lively rear end, it might be a little bit more challenging to actually enjoy this in these conditions, but we're going to have a go. Anyway guys, enough of me blabbing, let's jump in the car, see what it's like. Right, driving the M140 on the road. What we're going to do is, because it's a little bit greasy, a little bit not very nice, it's the middle of January at the moment, very greasy roads, cold roads, Michelin Sport Cup 2s I think that are on this. Not the best scenario for a rear wheel drive, powerful car at 400-ish, 410 brake horsepower with that stage 1. Now I'm going to put this in sport mode. It of course changes the dynamic of the car, the way it feels, all that sort of good stuff. So I'm going to drop it into manual mode. We're not going to go crazy with this car, that's the real thing here. I don't want to go mad with it. We are of course on public roads and stuff, so this, I feel, without that LSD is a little bit less predictable. With LSD in sort of M cars and stuff like that, it is a lot more predictable. They do come out a lot, these cars. So if you are, like, you know, an Audi owner, say I was an Audi owner, jumping into this, you've got to be very mindful that this is, of course, a rear-wheel drive car. So third gear, little pull. Flashing from the stability management there. Coming in very, very quickly. You've got to remember that if this is your first performance car that you're buying, or if you're coming out of something that is four-wheel drive, these are very, very lively from the rear end. That obviously makes this car fantastic to drive and fantastic to corner, and it's, you know, light on its feet, and it comes out and it's a bit more of a pure driving machine, I think they would say, from BMW. But that, of course, on the school run and stuff, and going daily, you know, here, there and everywhere, you've got to take that into consideration when actually driving one of these cars. That's probably the fundamental thing to point out. Other than that, if you can sort of cope with the idea that this is, of course, a powerful rear-wheel drive car, that 3-litre turbocharged engine comes on song, I would say around 2,500, 3,000 RPM. It's really chugging. If you're going to B-road bash this car, this is the real thing. You've got to be on it. You can't just jump in this car and expect it to drive in a certain way, just like other performance cars do. This rear-wheel drive setup in a light, small chassis, which is the 1 Series, is really something to talk about here, because that's why I feel these are a fantastic, not bargain, because they are expensive, and every time I say bargain with certain cars, people get really, really funny with me. But I do feel that for, say, £17,000 for a 67 plate car, with this much power, this much comfort, this much just everything, that is a really, really good shout. Of course, these coming out of, you know, £33,000, £34,000, that's a huge saving from the initial buying price that you would pay when buying these things new. That's where the bargain scenario comes in, because if you look around, there is a lot this car competes with, you know, S3s of the same sort of generation, same sort of market. I do feel that an S3 is going to reward you in a different way. This is going to reward you in a tail happy way, definitely. If you're a BMW fanboy through and through, though, I do feel that I'm preaching to people that already know they're going to buy this car. I do feel that it is a car that is just going to get bought, regardless of me doing you know, a review pitching this car against cars that maybe I've owned in the past. it is one of those cars that if you're into your rear-wheel drive BMWs and you say only have 20 grand to spend or sub 20 grand to spend, this is going to be the obvious choice for you. And you are completely right. This is a phenomenal car for the money. It is bags of power, bags of comfort, bags of just quality as well. The quality in this car and the way it actually feels on the road, and how sharp, I forgot how sharp that steering feel is as we chuck it into a less bend there. It is incredibly sharp from the front end, which is something I actually forgot about. Coming from the RS3, not that that car pushed out on the road, I don't feel you're going to feel that on the road. It was a lot more front heavy than, say, this M140i is. And that is very apparent when you drive it and you chuck it into a corner, and that's where the driving feel comes from. Yeah, that front is lovely. The front of this car is where the setup is. The back is, because of, you know, not having an LSD. If it did have an LSD, I think it would maybe trump some of the M cars, or at least feel as good as an M car. Yes, you don't have the contact patch, and yes, it isn't a proper M car, blah blah blah, but if you are on a budget and you do want a performance car to throw your kids in, be safe, economical, you know, I think the insurance group is 37 if I can remember correctly on this car, which I don't think again is too bad for a performance hot hatch. I think you could really have some fun in this thing. Of course, today it's like we're literally, as you can hear, we're going through puddles at the moment, which is a shame. But if you really wanted to, I think you could enjoy yourself to no end in this car. It will give you everything you could ever want. But should you buy one? That's what I'm trying to base these videos around, in the ownership experience. Should you be buying one of these? Well, I do feel that they're holding their value at the moment. They are. A lot of them out there you can find and choose one that you want, you know, with the better hi-fi, say heated seats, all that good stuff, if you so wish to. But I do feel your money is relatively safe. But again, just buy what you like, buy what you know, and buy what you enjoy. I feel like if you were to go from a diesel variant of the 1 Series into this, you would, it would be like night and day. The chassis is fantastic with this amount of power and drivetrain, and that ZF box is phenomenal in these. I do feel that yes, if you are after one, again, go and drive one, find a good one, you will not be disappointed with this car. In comparison to an RS3, I like RS3s too much. That's my problem. I want the all-rounder, the car that you can put your foot down in at any point. This, of course, isn't necessarily that car. Because, again, coming out of a junction there, it's just trying to go sideways. It's trying to, you know, peel one of those wheels out to actually get you to not necessarily go sideways. It doesn't come out like an M car, I feel. But I do feel like this is one hell of a car for the money. And, you know, after seeing Chris Harris post the 135 against the RS3 many moons ago, like 2012 when those cars came out, and he said how different this was to the RS3, but people were pitching them together. Now I don't think that's the same. You couldn't pitch this 140 against the newer shape RS3 because I do feel they're horrendously expensive in comparison. So this then means this is the bargain of the century, surely. Is it not? Anyway, guys, I hope you like this video. Let me know in the comments what you think of this style of video. The old school OG people out there that will remember these sort of videos where we just go out and rambled about how exciting and cool, and whether you should actually buy one and own one as a daily driver, as a car you can modify and stuff. Please let me know in the comments below what you think, and I will see you all on the next one. Woo!